So that's awesome. So are you from New Jersey?
Yes.
That's awesome. I'm in New
Yeah.
Jersey.
Well, that means you're awesome.
Yeah, of
Clearly.
course. Are you in South Jersey? I saw like in your little bio there was like South Jersey for the ballet, so I guess you were down
Yes.
there.
Yeah, we were like over the bridge from Philly, like Cherry Hill area.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Philadelphia, New Jersey. It's still Jersey, but it's a different world. Even where I'm at, I'm in Hunterdon County, and it's pretty wild. Like it's only 30 minutes from where I grew up in Middlesex County, but it's like all Philly stuff out here. TV, everything, and it's really I could still get to New York quicker driving, which is wild.
I think it's funny how like such a small state has like very very strict lines, and the
Oh
culture is
yeah.
very very different no matter what county you're in. I just thought that was normal growing up until I moved out west, and then we have like I'm in California now. We have Northern California, which is a culture, and Southern California, but it's massive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's more of a gentle divide, whereas like in Jersey, you get it wrong, like someone fist fights you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, that is true. So at what age, like what was like this is what I love talking to people about. Like credits are really cool, but I love the origin story because it's not like a normal job. It's not
no,
like you go to school and you're like, I want to be an accountant. It's like you apply for an accountant job, you get an accountant job. Like when you're applying for an acting role, directing, producing, whatever, there's like so many other people trying to do it, and there's only like one role for what you're looking for. Or maybe that what fits would be the director, the casting director, would be like, this is a role that you could be. It's not like everybody goes out for like 7 different parts. So, what was it growing up that you thought about? I want to be seen like when you're doing ballet.
I I've been a performer as long as I can remember. My mom has like a favorite story about us going to Atlantic City when
Nice.
like the golden age, right, of Atlantic City. And I was 2 years old, and they were debuting one of the new hotels there. And there was a band in the lobby for the celebration, and they said, "Does anyone want to come on stage and sing something?" And I pushed all the adults out of the way, grabbed my phone, and sang a song at age 2. So that's just always been me. It's kind of always what I've known. I wanted to do. I knew how to do. Um, and so it wasn't really a matter of like if, it was how I was going to
Yeah.
do it. And a lot of people ask me like, "Hey, how do you get started and how do you pursue it?" My advice always is like, don't. It's hard, as you just said. What other job on the planet is everyone you've ever met shows up in a big room and only one of you leaves with a job? It's not normal. It's really hard. But I just don't know how to do anything else, so I had to
Yeah.
figure it out.
That's a great answer. That's what most people. You have to have like that will, and it's almost like you have to have
You have to be nutty. You
it.
have to be a little weird, a little kooky.
Oh
To
yeah,
really, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And you have to just have that thing in your head. You have to have like no fear, because
Yeah.
after like rejection, it's like that's gonna happen. But then when you have that great
Totally.
moment.
It's you have to have super super thick skin, and even people who claim they do, like, this is still a test, because sometimes like in the heyday you go out 10 times for auditions in a single day. You just constantly hear no. Some people go years
Ugh.
hearing no all day long, and it's like it takes a toll on you. You have to have incredibly thick skin, incredibly unnerving resolve. It's just but it's a process of like weeding out the pack, kind of. You have to stick with it. And it's funny, like I've been doing this now almost 15 years, and so I'm starting to see. I've seen that like the herd's clear a little bit. So those of us who are left, and a lot of them are much more prolific actors than I am. Celebrities, they'll tell you like, I'm no better than anyone else. I'm just still here. And it kind
Yeah.
of is true. It's a numbers game, and eventually, if you hang in here long enough, you're the only one left, and you get the floor.
It's funny. I don't know if you ever heard the quote by Stephen Colbert. I don't know how many. I'm sure he said it on maybe the late night show or like throughout the years, but he said it in the Dana Carvey documentary about Too Funny to Fail, about the Dana Carvey show, and he said that Steve Carell told him, because he was Steve Carell's understudy at Second City, and he said to him like, if you stick it out long enough, like you'll get your shot on TV. It doesn't mean you're gonna
Yeah.
make it from there, but you have to just be, people have to talk about it. You're in so many different auditions, you see the same people, maybe the same casting director.
Yes.
It's crazy. You said
It's
like
a
when
crazy
people
world.
when actors go, when I talk to actors, most of the time they're always like, there's always work going on, but it's so crazy when it comes to writers, because obviously each facet of movie making or on TV, like people are always honing their craft and getting better and better. There's so many great writers I've interviewed, and it's like they're always writing. They have so many scripts. They're probably 10 times the scripts that actually got made. It's crazy when you're like, man, I can't believe you didn't get a movie made for 7 years, but that's how hard that part of the business is too.
Yeah. I learned early on. So I work a lot. Like I work pretty consistently, and I'm very lucky for that.
Yeah.
But in another way, I sacrifice too. Like some people would rather do one really big show, one really big movie, and wait 7 years in between to do that. And like, I have ADD. Like, I wrap a project in like 3 or 4 days. I'll go by and I'll be like back to normal life, and I'm like, I've got to find something to work on. I don't know what to do with myself. So for me, I like quantity, and so that's what I really go after. So I found that kind of in the indie horror scene. It allows me to work on 5 or 10 projects a year as opposed to one every 7, and that there's no wrong answer for what to pursue. It's kind of what your preferences are. Some people prefer to go to like acting class and like auditioning. I hate both of those things. Like, I want to be on set. So it's just a matter of, that's part of the process too. Early in your career is kind of figuring out what your trajectory is going to be.
Yeah, no, you're right. There is like that hard. It's so. I talked to so many people about this, and because you're getting into you direct and you produce. Like, there's like this weird thing when it comes, especially with horror. There's such like a taboo thing with it. I don't understand it, but
We're
like
a little taboo over here.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying from the outside looking in, like if a movie looks good, the way it's shot, whether it's like $100,000 budget, $500,000, like if it looks good enough and you're getting that feel from it, that should mean that's something not bigger, because I don't want to say like the project you worked on isn't big, but it's like this weird jump from indie horror to like doing different projects that might have a bigger budget, and it's like it's ridiculous, and I think it's so silly. I've talked to a few horror directors, and like one of my buddies who I interviewed, Joe Castro, who's like the nicest guy ever, who I know you worked with him a few times, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We all work
with
together.
Like Joe,
it's like we're all integrating each other. So.
It is, But Joe, like, he's like amazing at special effects. Like what he does is like so like otherworldly, and I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, why? Like he should be on huge projects. Like he has that skill, because what he does on those like micro budgets is like fascinating. But I know that when I went off on a tangent there, is I think it's so ridiculous. Like when people are like, oh yeah, well I did like 10 horror movies in 1 year, and it's like, all right, well, was the work good? That's all that matters. Did you enjoy it? Right?
That's the thing. I enjoy it. Like, and to everyone it's different. To some people, if it's a low budget, like there's no way it can be good. But for me, that tends to be my favorite stuff to do. I've done bigger stuff. I did Piranha 3D, which is one of the largest budget horror movies there is.
Yeah.
And it's currently the holds the world record for the largest cinematic slaughter.
Nice.
How they got me, because I was like sold. So I've done like the mega blockbuster, and then I've literally done all in, like Joe will tell you the same thing. I've done the like, my mom lent me $20 to make a movie, and I called in every favor I know, and so I've done everything in between. And for me, that was also part of that learning process, was like, what do you enjoy? And something that you'll hear from a lot of people who work within our genre, Joe is a fantastic example of that as well. They're not untalented people. It's not because they couldn't get to the next level. It's because when you do get to the next level, it gets a little bit more corporate. This is where the business kicks in a little bit, and it's not very different from any other industry that you could work in, right? So the more high up the ladder you get, the more suits are involved, the more financial guys come in, the more lawyers who have opinions, who don't know what they're talking about, really come in. And everyone thinks they're creative because they watched a movie once and they're tinkering with the stuff. And before you know it, you get some, Marvel or DC clusterfuck of like 20,000 people who weighed in, and it's a mess, right? So, and don't get me wrong, the money gets really nice as you move up the ladder, so that's nice. I love being able to pay my bills for 6 months or a year, not worry, kick back, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I didn't get into this to do a 9-to-5 job. It's the same reason that I didn't really seek out TV as much. It starts to get very routine. It starts to get very corporate. And if I'm going to do that, I can think of a lot more consistent jobs with a much higher salary to do a very soup type of job. And so for me, I'm all about passion and artistry and creativity. And the independent horror scene has a collective of some of the most talented individuals working in the entertainment business, and they're there for the right reasons. They're there because they are loving what they're doing, and they have a creative, hassle-free place to channel that creativity. And so you can get people who worked on Academy Award-winning movies who then come do your little micro-budget project because they want that cathartic outlet. And so I love the spontaneity of not knowing who you're going to be with, how you're going to work. It's very incestuous, the indie horror scene, but the collaborative effort and the opportunity to really embrace what you love is here, unlike any other section of the entertainment industry, and honestly of many professions out there. I feel very lucky to be where I'm at.
No, that's great. No, and I love with the micro budget films when they take like the Academy Award star. I'll use like Eric Roberts. I talked to Eric Roberts like a few years ago, but I think the way he gets used in movies is so clever, because I actually talked to a guy on the phone that did a movie that Eric was in, and we were just like he messaged me about checking out his movie. I watched it. It was pretty good, so I wanted to ask him some questions. But like Eric's in probably 7 minutes of the whole movie, but the way they put him in it, it is like it's called the
all over
but it's so smart to do it that way.
Yeah, honestly, so a lot of films, especially low budget films, will do that. They'll take a star name and they'll film them for a day and then they'll spread it out. That's not unusual practice. And honestly, that happens a lot on bigger budget stuff too. Like the last movie I just did was like 1.2, and which is a mid-level movie for this kind of stuff. And it was the same thing. They had a couple of people out for a run of show, which was like 3 to 5 days. They top bill them, and that was a larger budget. And the same thing happens at $5 and $10 million space too. Sometimes they'll have Nick Cage or Bruce Willis out for 3 days, and then the movie. So it happens at every level. I think it's a little bit more transparent on the micro budget level. And Eric Roberts is the king of the ones. Nobody, but he's a great example. He's an Academy Award. He's been in he's been in Batman. I mean, he's been in everything, right? And what does he choose to do a lot of the times? He likes to work on more intimate productions, and he's decided to just go. I don't know if I can curse on your thing.
You can, yeah.
Okay, he just had to fucking go for it, right?
Yeah.
So he didn't do 1 or 2 or 3 just for fun or fill in the gaps. He's got 300 credits. Dude is a machine.
More than that. No, he has more. It's it's almost like 700 now. Because when I talked to him 3 years, I talked to him during COVID, and him and his wife were she's the best too. But he said one day, somebody offered him to do a movie, a small thing in India it was filming or something like that. And he was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. And she's like, why not? And he's like, well, you know what? I've always wanted to go there. So he used a little bit of that too. He was like, you know what? I can travel. And he loves it. He loves the giving back and the way he takes the pictures and puts them on his social media about being on set. But I think that's so cool. It's obviously the actor is getting the cathartic thing, because when I talked to Eric, he would love to do more theater, but a lot of actors, but it doesn't pay. So you can't rehearse for 10 weeks to do a 6-week production and you don't get paid.
And it doesn't, or it pays super little, or it's contingent on people showing up, and it's different. In New England where you guys are, there's way more embracing the theater scene out there. It's way more restricted. People go to the theater there. Here, it's it's almost a joke. It's really sad. We have incredible productions with really, really talented people, beautiful theaters, and nobody cares. It's like weird. No one wants to go to the theater here. It's all about TV and film here. So, you know, and that sucks for local talent like Eric. You know, if you're viewing theater, it really is, you know, a charity case, which sucks.
Yeah, I know. Because it's like that. A lot of people, it's like that's their roots. Like that was the
Yeah.
old school way to do it. It seemed like
Yeah.
everyone that I talked to was either like you went out to LA right away or you came to New York in the 70s and 80s and then somebody saw you in a play and then you got flown out. Like that's
Yes.
how it was. So like so you're doing ballet and
Yeah.
then did you stay local for school or how quick did you go out to LA like after high school?
Well, I actually did my senior year of high school in Arizona because I was going to go to ASU.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, I was like, I had enough of the snow. I was like, I got to take a couple of years and like go sit in the sun and bake. I can't like. I was living in the tanning bed in Jersey because I'm just so freaking cold.
Yeah.
Those winters, man. So yeah, so I was gonna go there. So I went and did my senior year of high school there to get residency. And in between high school and college, I was looking for a theater group. I did theater in South Jersey growing up. It was like the only thing I was allowed to do besides ballet. My mom was like, "You're not going to be an artist. You're going to go to school and be, you know, a lawyer, a doctor." And I was like, "Okay, yes, mom." And so I went out. I was going to just get a theater group so I could join community theater and like get to know people in the area. And I couldn't find any theater auditions. I did like 2 little productions in Arizona, and then what I ended up finding was an independent film audition. And my friend was going, so they're like, "Come along and just see what this scene's like instead." I'm like, "What the fuck is an independent like, I was like, "What is this, porn?" You know, I was really worried. I was worried. So I went, and fortunately it wasn't. It was a horror movie. And they invited me to audition. I didn't know a thing about like protocol, how to do this. I didn't have an agent. I didn't have a headshot. I didn't have a resume. I went in and like I was a stupid teeny bopper. I had just memorized Cruel Intentions because I was obsessed with Sarah Michelle Gellar at the time, like everybody was. And so I was like, I don't have anything prepared for this audition. I was like, I'll just do a monologue from Cruel Intentions because I just memorized this thing. And I did it, and it ended up being exactly what the director wanted. And I was fortunate enough. It was just exactly the right place at the right time, the right thing that I said and did. And they were looking for a really unique, kind of kooky unknown, and that was me. And so I took the lead in it, and it came out, and I was like, I learned what low budget was. But I had a really special experience on that one because it was a month on location in the northern part of Arizona. So I got a crash course in filmmaking. We lived on site at the cabin we were filming in. The crew lived in one down the street. And so it was just nonstop every day for a month with a production happening around me. And that's not usual. Usually when you work, you know, cast is very separate from crew. And at the end of the day, you go home, you don't see all the wrap out, all the load in, you don't see all the setup for things. They just invite you to set when everything's ready to go, and you do your scenes and you leave. So this was a very immersive experience, and I drove the crew fucking nuts. I asked them every question. What does this do? What does that do? What is your job? How do you do it? I mean, they wanted me to just die. Like, they could not wait. So, but what happened is I was absolutely falling in love with independent film and with filmmaking process. So once that came out, I was hooked. Fortunately, it was unique of an experience. It did really well overseas, and so I started having people calling me. I was at school at this point in college.
Oh my god!
And people were calling me, "Hey, I saw your movie. Come do mine." And so that was happening more and more and more. And so I was leading class, and I was going on the weekends to film all over the place. And then when the movie came out here in the U.S., Lloyd Kaufman from Trauma, who you may or may not know.
Oh no, that's what I was thinking about. The way you were describing the filming, I'm like, that sounds like Trauma. Like living together for 30 days. Yeah. It
was an experience. But he was being given a Lifetime Achievement Award in Phoenix at the time. In this new convention, and the movie played there, and he took me under his wing. He taught me all about the film business. He had me tour with him and his company to cons all over the country. I met a ton of
Nice.
people. And so at this point, like, there was nothing left for school. I was just constantly
Yeah,
involved.
yeah.
And my professors went from like irritated. They were cheering me on. They're like, "Why? School will always be here. Go film." And
Yeah.
so one day I drove to LA because I was going to film there, and I just didn't go back. And I was like, "They're right. College will always be there. When it slows down, whenever that is, I'll just go back and pick it up." And I thought
Yeah.
this would be like 6 months, a year top. That was 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and I never went back. I've been filming ever since.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
unreal. So what was your? Because IMDb is always wrong. Was that called The Lonely Ones?
That was The Lonely Ones, yes.
Okay, so
And
wow.
it's a tiny little movie, labor of love, but the people involved were really really passionate people. The director, he teaches film at a college there in Arizona. It's an obscure movie now. I don't even think the company who distributes it is around anymore. But it was so important for me because
Yeah.
I got a crash. I got film school in a month, and so I have very fond feelings for it. And it was really unique experience because when I got there, they gave me a stack like this thick of character background to go with the script. And I was like, that was very convenient of them to do all the work for me. And I thought that's just how movies were. And so
Yeah, yeah.
I never got that again, obviously. But like there was so many unique things. You know, my character, despite being directed by a man, written by a man, produced by men, it was a very, very complex female-fronted horror. It was really ahead of its time, and very very complex storylines and plots, all with a mix of like this very B movie overage. So lots of layers, lots of things there that really just gave me a great education and really sparked that creative bug.
Yeah, it got you hooked. That's all. That's
Yeah.
that's the coolest part about it. So when you're in LA, and obviously at this point you're already like, hey, how can I? Well, you're already doing other movies, so I'm sure there's some connections that you had because that's why you were there, right? You filmed for like a week or a couple weeks,
No,
and you're like, I'm not going back.
it it was literally, like I said, I wasn't even pursuing it. In a way, the business was pursuing me, and
Yeah.
because it was such a unique film and such a unique character, I didn't realize what it was doing for me at the time. But ultimately, it was really advertising me. It was, I mean, I couldn't have picked a better debut project if I had planned it. And so between that and then the involvement with, and the endorsements from Lloyd Kaufman, I just had people constantly calling me. They're like, hey, you just did a movie, and I'm not a brilliant actor by any means, but I'm really, really good at my niche. I really get horror. And so when I would come out, I would do a role, people would be like, oh shit. And then they'd be like, okay, well, I have this project coming up. The crew members were referring me, other castmates were referring me, directors were like,
Wow.
hey, you gotta check out this chick. And so, so it was just referral based. And then I would start doing interviews or websites, horror websites and magazines were featuring me, and so the people who see me in that and call me. It really was a very loyal business
Yeah.
for a long time. And like halfway through my career, I started being like, I need an agent, I need a manager, someone else to help me keep this up. And they would be like, you don't have any of the right materials, the right stuff. How are you working so consistently? And all I can say is like the genre is kind of its own animal. And so it really is that right place, right time thing. Like, I don't think I could recreate it if I tried. It really is just, kind of how it happened. And one thing I can tell you is it really is who you know. Relationships above everything else in this business is really what gets you the job.
Yeah, and how you and, like when you get that opportunity too, like you got that opportunity, you knocked it out of the park, and just like you said, like referrals, that means that you're super great to work with, and people enjoyed
Sometimes.
having you around. Cause yeah, and that's what's so true. Like even like work, like job interviews, like so
Yeah.
you might be the most qualified person, but if the person interviewing is like, I don't want to work with this person every
Right.
day, so like
Right.
those people, for them to go out and be like, hey, you know what? I just worked with this actress. Here's her information. Or that's pretty wild. And I
Yeah.
wonder if there's any other stories like that of somebody like their career. Really, it's just
I
like
think, I mean, yeah,
passing around.
honestly, like, and Trauma really, I mean, Lloyd, I'm still singing his praises, but he really does know how to pick talent. I mean, he discovered Samuel L. Jackson. He discovered a
Patrick
bunch of
Kilpatrick's first
Patrick
movie was
Kilpatrick.
yeah.
Yes, a bunch of people. I just saw him actually a couple
Debbie
weeks ago.
Rochon was like in other stuff,
Debbie
but
is a goddess. She's
yeah,
so
she's the
good at her.
best. Yeah.
Yeah, she's so good at what she does. So Tiffany Shepis, and James Gunn. James
Yeah,
Gunn,
oh, I
who's
know.
now
Oh my God,
the head of
yes.
DC.
I
Like,
know.
mean, so, so yeah, there's a lot of people who, and I think most A-listers, if you look up most A-listers, they started in horror. One of their first
Oh,
credits, always a
yeah.
horror movie. So
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know, I love my job. I love my little club. It's fun. Fun.
No, that's about. You're right. So many people did start in horror, like,
Yeah.
and then other people started in horror because they knew other people that started in horror. They'd be like, "Well, Jamie
Yeah.
Lee Curtis, Kevin Bacon,
Yep.
that could be me."
Yep.
So yeah,
And it's fun, right? So if you think about, you know, as an artist, there's only a couple of opportunities to have like an intense audience reaction, right? Generally, to get a physical reaction out of your audience, it's either a horror movie or a comedy, right? That's what can get an audience to almost interact with you. So it's a very, very specific skill set to invoke that kind of emotion from someone. But when done successfully, it's the most rewarding to know that you impacted someone in a physical and emotional way. And hopefully for the better. Hopefully you entertain them. Not always, but you try,
Yeah.
right? And so it's something where, you know, I don't think it gets the respect or the cred that it deserves, but it really it's one of the most rewarding places to work as a creative, in my opinion. And I've done
No,
I've
I
done some
agree.
other stuff. I've done comedies, I've done dramas. I
Yeah.
keep wondering, like, halfway through the movie, I'm like, when do I get to kill people? So boring. So yeah.
Oh man. So at that time, because I sometimes in the biography that's are on there some neat things. So while you're obviously getting people to reach out to you and calling you, like people are reaching out to you because like casting directors are looking for you for Tila Tequila show and like Brett Michaels. You were on those shows.
So I mean, being from Jersey and Scottsdale, it was like the two
Yeah.
hubs of where they're looking for like the nuttiest people to feature on
That
reality
is true.
TV. And I was in my prime, man. I was like, you know, 18 and wild fuck. I went straight from the club in Jersey to like the reality show stage. I was a finalist on like every show that was being produced at that time. And for some reason or another, I couldn't land them. I'm not sure what the deal was. Like, Tila Tequila, trying to think of what I can say on here. I almost got that one, and then ultimately it did not. Rocket Love was brand new at the time. I was cast on season 1, and the show called me, and I had actually just gotten into flight attendant school. And so I wasn't sure if I was going to, at that time, I wasn't sure if I was going to really embrace entertainment or if I should do something smart with my life, have a backup plan. So I told the producers, I was like, I'm going to bail, I'm going to go to flight attendant school, I'm going to do this. So I was flying for a year. At that time, I was actually in a girl band. I can't, whatever. So it was a pop group. So in between that, I was performing with this group. And then
Wow.
at the end of, I've had a weird life, I can't. So the end of that year, I was like, I don't want to fly anymore. I don't want to do music. I really want to do, like, I want to focus on film. And at that point, the producers called me back and they're like, hey, we just finished taping on season 1. We're going to do season 2. Come out. So I came out, I went through the whole process again, I got it, and then I filmed for like a couple of days, and then they kicked me off on day 1. I was so pissed. Ultimately, I think if I had been more willing to, you know,
Yeah.
with Brett that I might have been able to stay on longer, but I made it very clear to the producers that I was not going to be giving him the action,
Yeah.
especially on camera. And then ultimately, my storyline was up there. But everyone that was really nice. I still think Brett is hot as shit, and so
Yeah.
obviously that worked out well for him. I'm friends with a bunch of people from the show still. One of them from season 1 was one of my bridesmaids. Like we're still
Really?
yeah, we're all still
That's
in
great.
touch. So that was fun for a minute, and then from there, like they tried a bunch of different shows for me, and nothing just seemed to be the right fit. I did Paris Hilton's new BFF. I
Oh
was
yeah.
doing Shot at Love with Tia Tequila. I did Scream Queens when they saw how
Oh
much
yeah.
stuff I was doing. So I went to the finals for all of these, and even like the first round of filming, and then it just wasn't ever they didn't know what to do with me. Like I'm not quite the hero, I'm not quite the villain, I'm not quite the nice girl. Like they couldn't figure out where exactly my character was. And so ultimately I was like, this is exhausting, and it's honestly as fun as it is. Like there's free alcohol all the time and everyone's ready to party, but like I need to, focus on what I'm doing. So at that point, that's when I really buckled down and did film full time. And thank God I did, because a lot of the girls who got on those shows as finalists that made it towards the end of the show, and even some that didn't, the contracts were ironclad. So had I pursued one of them as a main character, they would have owned my rights for the next however long.
Oh my God.
Shows. Yes, that's why a lot of times you see these characters, you don't see them again for a while. It's because the production companies like own you. So I would not have been able to have my career would have been like my filming career would never have happened if I had pursued one of those shows.
That's
so,
crazy. So they can be like, yeah, you can't do any auditions or any. Wow.
Nothing. And of course, the contracts are this thick, and so when you're a half drunk, 19-year-old girl, you're not like, oh my God, a lawyer to look at this. No, you don't. So it worked out perfectly. Again, right place, right time, worked out for me in that way. And I still had the buzz, like, from all those, like, the Rock of Love shows still had me, like, on all the websites. MTV was running clips of me for my first few things. So I still got, like, some of the cred from it, but I didn't have to have the commitment of not being available for other stuff. So it was a win-win.
Yeah, that works out. It's so crazy. That's wild that you had that moment of like flight attendant school and you did it for a year, and then you're like, yeah, I don't want to do it for a year. And then it's almost like good that these shows came calling, because maybe that furthered you to say like, man, I really film is what I need to do.
Yeah.
Like, this might be fun right now.
Honestly, it was great. Like I added that to my skills on my resume. I worked out of Mesa Airlines, which did express flights for United and US Air, which doesn't exist anymore. And it was fun. I loved it, but it was also very inconsistent lifestyle. It wasn't stable, it wasn't steady, and it was gone so much. And I was like, if I'm gonna do that, I want to be doing it in what I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
And I did go to the school. I did graduate from it, and I was certified. So again, it was a very solid backup plan if I needed to fall back on something. And then I just kind of had a little pep talk to myself, and I was like, look, if I really want to pursue this, I need to stop focusing on backup plans. I need to focus on plan A. And when I did that, it was scary, because anyone who works will tell you, like, it's a lot of rejection. It's a lot of, like, am I going to make my bills this month? And, it's hard out here. Like, you have to get a little day job to do things at first so you can make your bills while you're auditioning, and then jobs don't like leave to go to the auditions, and then you choose, do I keep my job to pay my bills, or go to, it's really hard. And so I buckled down, and I went through like 20 day jobs that year. Every time I had an audition or I had to film and they were like, no, you can't go, I'd be like, these suck. And then I had to find another job again after it was done. So it was really crazy and really chaotic, but ultimately it got to the point where I just didn't need the day job anymore either, and I'm just filming. And
that's awesome.
As my career progressed, I learned more and more behind the scenes, and so I started producing, and then I'm currently now chatting with everyone because I just directed my first film. And so I'm really getting to explore other sides of the business part of our business, and that's been fun too.
No, that's cool. That's such a huge moment to not have to have that day job anymore?
Oh,
Do you remember like the
so
project
good.
you worked on, or
So good.
like what it was that you were like, this is it?
Yeah. I I was at Fangoria Weekend of Horrors, and it was in Santa Monica. I was in downtown LA, and I was working in Santa Monica at the time, which is like in traffic, like 2 hours from each other. It's ridiculous.
Oh my
And I was
God.
working at a gym, and as a Hooters girl, and and they were like, "You're late for your shift." I was literally at a convention with Lloyd, doing signings for my latest movie, and like I was just, I was hot to trot. I was a kid. I was like hanging with celebrities and like, weird people for some reason were watching my films. They wanted my autograph. I was like, this is cool. And then I had my like $5 an hour job calling me, being like, "You're late. You're gonna get fired." And so I remember I left, and I was like en route to go to my job, and I got there. By the time I got there with traffic, it was like the end of my shift, and like my managers didn't even look at me. They were like, "I got it," and I just looked at them. I was like, "You know what? I quit." And I walked out, and I said, "I'll never do it again," and I didn't. That was
That's great.
12 years ago now.
That's awesome.
I just said, I was like, I know what I want, and I'm willing to work my ass off and starve if I have to in the interim to make sure that this happens, not that. And it was a rough 6 months, but I did whatever I needed to save money and make it work. And that extra time that I wasn't spending at a day job, I committed to my career, and it paid off.
Yeah, no, that's great. And like so the Black Mass, how'd you get all those awesome people together? There's a lot of great people that are in the movie.
Favors.
Yeah.
I cashed in every favor I've had in the past decade to all come on this one. Well, a lot of them are my friends, and many of them I've worked with before, and several others know that that I produce some, and that I have some ins elsewhere. I do varying degrees of budgets of movies. So it's not like I work just in Z horror and I'm calling it a big favor and they're gonna be like, oh, there's no payoff from it. So they know that when I take on a project, I bust my ass and I get it as much exposure as possible, and that I'm very committed to the process. I finish every film that I've set out to make. It all comes out, all this distribution. So there was a little bit of pitching involved to some of them, but ultimately, I know my business, and even on a more contained project or a more contained budget, as this ended up being, I've learned a lot of tricks of the trade to really stretch the dollar, to really to cash in the right favors, the right places, and ultimately everyone joined in to make this happen, and it's a very unusual project, but it's paying off so far. So far, people are liking it. It's the beginning of what's going to be a really great festival run. It's looking like the initial reviews are all extremely positive, and so a little nerve-wracking, but so far it's going really, really well, and that's good for my favor score.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if it works out, then the next time they will answer.
I would owe some really big favors in return. So we'll see.
No, it's just cool. Like sometimes, like I was saying before, like when like Eric Roberts and these micro budgets, even it's so cool in other movies that like you have these people that you never thought you'd see share the screen together. So it's kind of neat. Like I've talked to Kathleen Kinmont, but I love Jeremy London, Lisa Wilcox. I was lucky enough to talk to Susie Lanier, who I'm sure. Are you friends with her?
Yes, she's wonderful.
Yeah, she's the best. Yeah, like so many different people to see them together would be really neat. I gotta watch that.
It's
very cool.
It's not a groundbreaking concept to have a lot of people from the genre in one movie, but you tend to see the same two people over and over grouped together. Funny enough, Eric Roberts did talk to us about being in this.
Nice.
So it's really funny. Hi, Eric, if you're watching. there wasn't a part for him really in this on this one, but I really wanted an opportunity to work with a lot of the actors you see here that have been in different projects that work really consistently. Even some of the girls, you know, are prolific horror actresses, but this particular group hadn't been in a movie together. And so I was really interested in bringing, you know, familiar faces that aren't consistently grouped together in this. And, you know, almost every major horror franchise is represented in this film in my cast. And so it's a really, really cool collaborative effort.
No, that's neat. Yeah, we just Jason Takes Manhattan, obviously from being from New Jersey. That's like a near and dear to my heart because I would watch like USA Up All Night. But I was like prepping because 2 weeks ago it was the 34th anniversary that it came out. So I was like, oh, let me check out some cool things. And I talked to Lisa like 3 years ago. But man, it said that she was offered the role, Jensen Daggett's role in the movie, and I'm like, but she turned it down. And I'm like, wow, wouldn't that have been wild? Like she was in 4 and 5. She survives, you know, Freddy, and then like the next year being a Friday the 13th. Maybe that's why she said no. I have no idea. But I'll have to ask her.
I'm actually curious about, you know, off the record what the reasonings were for that.
Yeah,
but she's
because I'm like,
wow. About the roles she takes, honestly. She, you know, she does a little bit of everything, but she really, really has to be into the material or into the people involved. Like I had a variety of conversations with her before she agreed to do this, and she wanted to feel out the project and the character, and she wanted to feel me out and my intentions behind making it. And so fortunately it passed the test, but she really knows what she wants and why.
Yeah, Alice Johnson, of all the people that get when they if they do a requel, which I would love they would do one with obviously Robert, she has to be in it. Like the fact that she wasn't in, like, not mentioned again is like really a shame. That doesn't really happen in the horror franchise, you know, minus Sidney Prescott. It's really all the other ones. It's like you survived, but we're not going to talk about you again.
I mean, at that point, like, you know, all the people are cannon fodder. It's really about the property itself. It's about the villain. And so, you know, who took the plunge right now? Like the studio didn't care at that point, you know.
Yeah, no.
We're sending into Manhattan. We're sending into space. Like they don't care, right?
Yeah. But I'll watch them. I want a 13th. It's a shame they couldn't get it out this year because it would have been October 13th. But hopefully soon. So like it's pretty funny. You were talking about like I always think it's funny when things tie together when you're looking at IMDb and people are talking. You're talking about like you were wild. Like your character's credit in Piranha 3D is wild girl.
It's because the wet t-shirt models in the wet t-shirt competition are called wild girls.
Oh, okay.
We had little t-shirts, white t-shirts that said wild on them, and then when they got wet.
Okay. Yeah. So is that a direct sequel to the second one? Is that is that in the canon of the old Piranha movies?
I don't think so. I probably should know this. I don't. I watched the originals and I love them. But the thing with this Piranha was, from my understanding, when I signed on to it, Alex Aja and the whole team, they were making a serious film. Piranha was not a comedy, and like when they pitched it as, you know, the biggest cinematic slaughter ever, they were going to put 1,000 kids in this epic massacre scene. It was supposed to be terrifying. It was supposed to be like a bloodbath, and I was like, yes, I'm into this. And you know, fortunately and unfortunately, there was a lot of extra time spent filming the wild girls.
I bet.
This little, 5-minute scene of a wet t-shirt contest ended up taking like a week and a half to shoot. And, then we had like a couple of smoking hot porn stars as the characters, and they got a lot of time filming too. And before you knew it, they realized they had like a ton of footage of like smoking hot naked girls, and they forgot to film the rest of the movie, and they were out of money. So this movie like sat in post, and they held it for like a year. And they were like, what
Wow.
do we do? They were out of money. Like, what do you do with this half a movie? And so, being fucking brilliant, they had hired some like real horror people involved because I was just awesome that way. And the editors were like, okay, here's the thing. So they all got together. They decided, okay, we're just gonna put all of the footage of like the hot girls in there, like all of it, and we're gonna make it like a Girls Gone Wild, and there's piranhas there too. And so it was totally a gamble. They thought it was going to be this massive flop. Everyone was ready to hang up their stuff. And then it came out and it, of course, did what it did. It was like a massive mega hit. And, you know, and then, again, my part was supposed to be like a two-day thing.
Oh, yeah.
I was there for 2 weeks. You know, I was a little bit. I made the trailer. Like, it was just this whole big thing. And then simultaneously that year, I did Nude Nuns with Big Guns.
But yeah, it's
And
a super popular movie.
it was #1 on Netflix for like 3 months. So I had both of those things simultaneously, and neither one was supposed to be a hit. They were just supposed to be fun little bit parts. And Nude Nuns ended up like top billing me on it, and Piranha came out and made this massacre scene with literally me at the center of it was like this global hit. So I mean, I rocked that right place, right time thing. Like, just, I rode that shit for a while. It was ridiculous, but
Yeah, that's awesome. But I think it's so cool. I think it's so good to work at different budgets, at different,
Yeah.
you know, parts behind the camera, in front of the camera, whether it be a lead or an extra. So even like it's cool, like you're doing all these, probably like the indie horror, like Perfect Sunday, Bloodstruck, Los Angeles Ripper. Then it's like Woman in Nightclub. So you're on Dexter too. So that's like a
Yeah.
neat little like to be able to see the way different
Well,
people direct, you know?
it was cool because, again, those are things like, that was a major TV show, and I didn't even have to audition for it. Like, the director knew me, and they had seen me in like one of the other movies. You never
Yeah.
know who's a weird like closeted indie horror fan. And so
Yeah.
when they saw it around, like down, they wrote me in a cameo in like their season finale, and it was the center point, this big plot twist for the whole show. And I was doing nothing, and I was like making out with some guy, and like they were checking out my ass, and then my ass moves, and it's like a cutaway of a newspaper clipping that had like this big plot reveal for the whole fucking show. So again, it's just silly stuff, but I got credit out of it. I got to be on a major TV show. Like, I ate lunch with Tom. Gosh, I'm gonna butcher this now. Colin. Oh, fail.
From that show on Dexter?
Yes, on the show.
I'm trying to think who the main, who was it? Like one of the other cops?
No, man, he's like massively mega stars kid. Oh my god, we'll edit this out. Edit
Okay.
this out. Okay.
Cut.
Fix it in post. Oh my gosh, Colin Hanks.
Oh yeah, when he was, that was a good season with him and Edward James Olmos.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
Yeah, we went straight to that. That's what it was. We're just gonna snip that little piece.
We'll set that out. No, I think that's so cool that you have like the different. It's always just good to see how all different people work, because then you
Yes.
learn when you get the opportunity to be in that chair to be like, okay, I remember I really enjoyed seeing this, but I would never do the way that person interacted with the cast, you know?
Yeah, and I have a couple of those, and boy, would I love to talk about it. Oh,
No, I know. I bet.
I have some really, really famous directors that I would love to talk about, but again, not yet.
Yeah. No,
one day,
yeah.
One day you'll have me back on, and I have some stuff to say, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
But I did have a wide variety of examples from different kinds of sets and kind of budget levels, and I always try to stress that, like, I work with a lot of film students, and I mentor some people, and I always stress that the best education you can have is being on set.
Oh,
So
yeah.
whenever you're there, don't just do your job and like turn it off without talk to people, pay attention to what people are doing, why. It's not recommended to go to the video village or anything, but if you can not interrupt anybody, but listen to how, they're making the choices they do, you can't get a better education than that.
No,
And I
that's
took all
great
of that
advice.
when I decided to do mine too.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. That's cool. So, how'd you get connected with like giving back and like having mentors? Just people that you met on like the indie horror scene or at like any local colleges?
So I speak at conventions and film festivals, and so it kind of happened accidentally. It's because I'm from Jersey, the huge mouth, and
Yeah,
so when I would learn something, I would share it. And I didn't realize that's not something that's done in the industry. Everyone kind of hoards information, they hoard connections, and I've always been exactly the opposite. If I can help connect somebody, I will. If I have information, if from my experience that will help you, I share it. I'm not taking a fee for that. Like occasionally, someone will like buy me a drink or take me to dinner or something, but I spill everything that I know because nobody did that for me. I had to figure everything else out myself. And I don't think that other people succeeding is competition. I think that we can all succeed together. I think there's room for everyone. I want anyone that I help to go and be super successful and then one day turn around and hire me.
yeah.
So I do. I mean, I just got an email actually in the middle of this. Someone who met me at Con who wanted to have a thing this morning. I had just spoken at Beverly Hills Film Festival
Oh, sweet.
on a finance panel for a lot of new filmmakers. And the other thing is a lot of people, when they do workshops or panels, they give you very PC answers like do your best and work hard. It's not actually any tangible information.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who's like, here's how I did it. Here's how I did it, without really knowing how to go about it. So you can obviously do the same thing or improve on it. And so I give like real world accessible information. And so a lot of people have followed my career or sought out advice. And as much time as I have to do it, I like to help.
Yeah, no, because you're learning even while you're teaching someone.
Yes.
So my wife's a teacher, and she's like, when she's learning different things, like when she's going for a master's now, she
Oh,
like
cool.
is explaining it to me, and just to, like, because that's how you learn it even more by like you're like reinforcing it, like to
Yes.
be able to explain it to somebody else. But that's cool that you do that because you're right. That's like you said, not a lot of people do that now, but I would definitely guess more than then because old Hollywood, like I've talked to some people and they've told me stories. Like this one actor worked with Michael Caine on a movie, and he
Yes.
asked him for advice, and Michael Caine gave him like a lip for a second, but as a joke to teach him a lesson. He goes, "When I was your age, I asked," and he said the actor's name. It was an old British actor that I've never heard of, but he goes, the guy looked at me and said, "Why would I give you advice? If I give you advice and you get better, you're gonna take my job." And I'm like, because that was the old concept. That was like the old
It's not
mindset.
old. It's still how people feel today.
I bet, yeah.
But I always felt like if you're good at your job, no one's taking it.
Yeah.
And you can't do this. This is a very collaborative business. You can't do it alone. And someone else having information and being the best that they can be should not be a threat to you. It just shouldn't. If you're confident in your ability, if you're confident in your work and your work ethic, then there's no other person that's you. There's might be others who are similar to you, others like you, but there's no other you. So if you do you the best you can, no one's going to interfere with that. In fact, people might collaborate with that, might amplify that. You can always succeed as a team. The only person you should be in competition with is yourself.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think the one point you brought up, I think is even like why people should do it is the collaborative. Because if somebody is like, "Hey, this person offered me advice. That was really nice of them. I need somebody for this part. Let me reach out to them." Like, I think that's the people that you want on set. Like, that's the
Absolutely.
person you want to work with, not the person that ate lunch alone and sat in the corner because they just really didn't want to be there.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If they're a big enough star, I still want them there. They can have their own corner. It's fine.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
overall, you want people who are going to be pleasant to work with, who are happy
Yeah.
to be there and grateful. And it's just, I think it's miserable to approach your career and in this career, it's your life, your entire life like that. It's just you can't possibly be happy if that's how you're pursuing things, and you never know. Like think about all the greats that are working right now, like the Steven Spielbergs, the Christopher Nolans. All these people were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at one point, saw something that inspired them, got some advice that inspired them, and they went on to be the future of the industry. So let's say worst case scenario, someone comes and they do take your job, and what if that person changes the face of our industry? What if that person creates some of the best cinema of the century? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's very easy to be selfish in this business. It's a very selfish, self-centered business. Lot of ego. But if you're able to put that aside, there is so much positive impact that you could potentially have and share too. That it's important to keep that about you and to weigh those things. And for me, it's common sense. Is you share what you know. I think there's safety in numbers. I think we're stronger in numbers. I mean, look what's happening with the strike right now. For a very long time, it was a very divided, individualistic business, and people are seeing that you can change things, whether it's better or worse. We'll find out, but you can have real impact when you're collaborative.
Yeah, no, that's 100%.
Like changing colors here in real time. The sun is setting, and it was really pretty at first, and now I'm like literally we're making a found footage movie here. Hold on.
Yeah.
Can we? Are we allowed to pause this? Is this live?
Oh no, it's not live.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm gonna edit that. I'm really gonna edit that part out before. No, you can put a light on if you want.
Conversation like this, it's so fucking dark in here. Hold on.
No, you're good.
So one thing I have not mastered yet is gaffer. I don't know lighting at all, so let's see.
I don't either. I just have like my one light in front of me, so that's fine.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
Okay. Well, we're almost done.
I need like a front. Okay, all right. Well, you know what? We'll just own it. We'll just go. Okay.
We'll
so
just deal with
it. Tuning in now.
Yeah.
You will see that I look really fucking weird, but
there's an orb glowing behind you. That's what
there's
like.
an
aura.
Glow. It's not a poultry, guys. It's not my aura. Oh my god! I hope my aura is better lit. This is my attempt at lighting, and as you can see, filmmaking is a process and learning process. And I have not yet learned how to light the scene, so I will be paying attention to the gaffers on my next one to figure out how to fix this for the next time you and I chat. In the meantime, please just look at Doug and how he is. You can just listen to me, and we'll be good. Okay, ready?
Yeah. Okay. Now, one thing I thought was pretty neat, like looking at your IMDb, the different things you've done, and I don't know, like how deep you get into the character of like a Casey Anthony. Like, when you're playing a role like that, like, that's got to be, like, something, right? Like, when you're getting into the character, when you're getting into the auditioning for it?
So, for that, that was a hard one. I've played a couple of real-life people.
Manson. You played one of the Manson.
Manson in Black Mass and Casey Anthony. And then I played inspired by real cases, fake people in real cases. So, this one was different. In Manson, in Black Mass, and a few others, the crimes were a long time ago. Before I was born, before I really saw the impact. And so it was easier to create like a wall between the character and reality, despite playing a real person. It was hard to do. This was so fresh for me. I followed the case very, very passionately, really, really paid attention to a lot of details of it. I was there for a lot of it. And I just hated her so much. I was like, how am I going to honestly portray this woman when I loathe her, when I want to punch her in the face? And so I struggled with it for a little while. And then ultimately, I'm somebody, I hate to use the phrases because they're annoying, but like I guess you would call me a method actor. I'm somebody who embodies a character instead of like plays one. And so I was like, am I really going to dive in and like take on this person? And I struggled with it, and ultimately I did. I really immersed myself in her. I watched all of the transcripts from the crimes, all of her videos. I emulated her speech, and I listened to her testimony forwards and backwards, and really decided that I was going to be her. And so I did, and it was rough. the baby they cast to play Kaylee looked exactly like her, um, and the parents looked exactly like the parents. It was just the scenarios were so real, and it felt so close to home that it was one of the hardest roles I had taken on. But it was a successful shoot. It's you know it was the number one debut for a TV show on ID Network, which, if you're familiar with, you know how many fucking shows they have.
I know. Women who kill. Women like to kill. Yeah, no, I know. It's insane.
It's still on Hulu. I think it just came back on Hulu after a couple of years break now. So it did really, really well. People really liked it. But one thing, they didn't tell us. So I got my scripts and my scenes, and so I knew my part of the story. But they didn't reveal to us, excuse me, I'm getting like choked up. They didn't reveal to us the case findings that they were going to show on the show, like, the fact that the nanny was just a code name for the drugs she was giving the baby to go out and party, things like that. I was not privy to that information ahead of time, so it was great. I was watching it screaming at the TV with everyone else because it was just so crazy. But I was grateful for that role because I really wanted to embrace television. I wanted to play something super challenging. True crime is my favorite subgenre. Really, I've been talking about this a lot with Black Mass. I think the scariest thing out there is people and what people will do to others. I think there's no boogeyman, no creature, nothing out there that's as terrifying as that. Every time I think I've seen it all, can't possibly get crazier. Just it does. Half the time it's in Florida, so that's a whole other thing.
Florida. Just listen to Dateline or the Law Island serial killer thing. Like that podcast is like insanity. Like just
it's insane, man. So I knew when I did that, I was like, all right, I could take that on. I was like, I felt, I kind of leveled up, performance-wise. I was like, if I can do that, I could pretty much do anything. And so it gave me a bit of a confidence boost. And then I did Frost last year, which I don't know if you saw that one or not, but that's also inspired by a really horrific.
Really? No, I didn't see that yet.
Oh, well, do you like extreme horror?
Yeah, I like all horror. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's Vernon Wells. Look at that. Horror.
So like, did you like Terrifier?
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So if you like extreme horror, which is its own subgenre, then check out Frost. Frost just went to #1 on Tubi.
Cool.
So,
I see my buddy Vernon. Vernon is in that, which is great.
Yeah. It's pretty much just Vernon and I for the whole movie.
Cool.
So it's a really crazy character piece. Vernon's a friend of mine for years. He's someone who showed me the convention scene. He used to put his table next to mine and kind of show me how to do things.
That's awesome.
He's kind of like a father figure, yeah. So when I had this role, he's someone, he got a lot of props for the movie Frost because he's another Eric Roberts type that kind of shows up, does a little cameo, and goes away in all these movies. And no one really gives him the opportunity to showcase what he can do as an actor. He's a phenomenal actor. And he plays my father in Frost, and he's really gives a beautiful performance. It's one of my favorite things I've seen him do. So
nice. I'm going to watch it soon.
Yeah. It's free on Tubi. Check it out. If you like extremes. I got a bunch of hate mail and death threats from people who were not aware of what extreme horror was. The ending is very disturbing. So if you are not an extreme horror fan, this is your warning. Don't send me hate.
This is your warning. That's cool, man. You and Vernon, that's really because he's one of those guys. He's a really good bad guy, and he can be really funny. Like you ever saw the shrimp on the bar and the Barbie?
Yes.
With him and Cheech Martin, such a ridiculous. I interviewed Carol Davis. And she just talked about how silly it was, Vernon, this really kind of big dude, and he was just he's such a
he's hilarious,
silly guy.
Yeah. See, I knew him personally before I had seen him in anything as Commando or anything as he was
really
famous.
Okay.
Yeah, I just knew Vernie first, and so he's always super goofy and fun and warm. And so when I started watching some of his iconic roles, I was like, "Who's that guy?" It was weird.
Yeah.
He has incredible range as an actor, and anytime he gets a chance to showcase that, I think it's a win for everybody.
Yeah, he had no interest in being in front of the like in front of the camera. He didn't want to be behind, but some
No.
director in some commercial like made him like stand in front of the camera, not in like the background. And then he got noticed, and then it just kept going and going and going.
Some people, you can't teach that. Like, it's sometimes people just, the camera loves them and finds them and sees interesting things in them, and he's absolutely one of those kind of people. So
That's
it makes
awesome.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. So I always love asking people this because this has been so much fun. So throughout your career, did you? Because you never know like what's gonna be like if this is gonna be something you're gonna do for a while, or you're not gonna think on set like, hey, I'm gonna take this. But do you have any like cool mementos from over the years? Do you like keep scripts or like wardrobe or any props that you have?
I do. I don't as much anymore because like I tend to be a hoarder. and, um, and so I was just collecting all this crap. My husband was like, "What is all this?" And so yeah, I do. I have a variety of scripts. I like to keep weapons. Like if I die, I like to die a lot on camera. So if I have something that like I die from, like for a while, I was keeping like if I have a wound, I would like peel it off and I would put it in my script as a.
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
I'm a weirdo. So things like that, and then like any knives or bullets or things like that, I'll just have them scattered around the house and
Just have them around the house.
cute. I know everyone else is all nice. They put them like a nice little case or whatever. No, I just like. I'm trying to think. If I have any stuff. They just cleaned in here because my husband just did a press tour too, so it was all nice and neat.
Oh, cool.
But,
What's your
like,
husband do?
so my husband's a director.
Oh,
He
cool.
makes action movies. Yeah. I
Really?
do some of the stuff that we work together occasionally. He actually wrote Black Mass.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah,
How'd you
but
guys
he does-
meet? On set, I'm guessing?
On set, yes.
On set?
He used to be an actor. He'll like kill me for talking about this now, but very beginning of my career, he was part of like the Tiffany Shepis, W. Rochon era.
Oh,
and
okay.
So we met at conventions, and then
Oh, so
I
he's
was
Trauma?
he's not Trauma. But
Oh,
he's
okay.
like the VHS era horror guy, and
Okay.
the Michael Pare type stuff. So like
Oh, okay.
mid-level horror stuff is where he started, and he was in metal bands too. He used to open for like Static X and Vanilla
Oh,
Ice.
wow. Awesome.
Yeah, so cool background. I got hired to play his love interest in a movie in New York, and he's also an East Coaster, and we hated each other on set, but he thought that was funny, and so he convinced me to promote the movie by doing a convention tour, and then and wooed me during it, and then we
Wow.
started making movies together, and yeah, it's now we work together sometimes behind the scenes as well. Sometimes I'll produce for him, sometimes he'll write for me, things like that.
That's awesome. You guys have such a similar background. Obviously, like the film part, but also like the music part.
Yes.
Like, do you still
Yeah.
do anything musically?
I don't. And I was up for a horror musical, which I was
Oh.
very excited about. It was like my bucket list item to do, and it got killed during COVID. So yeah, I'm hoping to do something with music in the film sense in the very near future. Here, I'm pitching a couple of things, so
Nice.
hopefully that'll happen. And
A horror musical would be awesome.
I know, I
Like
know. I
during
really
like
want
the
to.
chase scene, like hearing a song, like hear them
Right?
sing back and forth. That'd be hilarious.
It's a lot of fun, and there's a great market for it. And I think honestly, like the whole thing with Barbie now, with kind of that tone of like serious but not serious, very theatrical. I think it might be the right time to do it. I might have an easier pitch. So
Oh,
we'll
there's
see
a
how it
movie
goes.
that's coming out by A24 called Dix. Have you seen the trailer yet?
It's the musical, yeah.
Okay, so maybe that can help push it forward. When I saw the trailer, I'm like, who are these guys? And I'm like, all right, this could be pretty funny.
It's gonna be great. I can't wait, honestly.
But yeah, it's great. No, that's so cool. You keep the weapons that you die by. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Just like sit on the table, be like, oh, that's from so and so.
They're, like I said, yeah. So I've been distracted to find them, but like this is just sitting on my couch.
Nice.
I have gosh. What else is over here? I have random stuff everywhere. In the tables. That's a movie prop. I have like watches and stuff for movie props here. That's the little thing we just shot. See, I cleaned my room once, and now I can't find anything
And
fun
look
to
at
show
that.
you.
No, but that's
Next
still
time.
cool that you do that. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Do you have any do you have a wish list that you just mentioned obviously like a horror musical, but is there
Yeah.
any other type of would there be another genre that you'd want to tackle? I know you love horror and that's like your
Yeah.
like you, but is there any other genre that you take like a quote unquote stab
I
at?
do occasionally do sci-fi, occasionally I do
Oh,
action.
cool.
But that's it. I like the dark. Go figure. Currently in the dark. Yeah, no, I like anything that's darker material. So I'll do like a variety of subgenres. But like if nobody's gonna die, I don't really want to. I get bored. I'm not into like occasionally I'll watch like a chick flick or a romantic comedy, but I don't want to be in it. That sounds boring too. And nobody wants to watch a drama and like straight comedies. They don't sell unless it's like A-listers in it, and I'm good at what I do, but I'm not an A-lister yet, so like that's not gonna happen. And then the other options are really like what Christmas movies or like
Yeah, Hallmark.
movies. I'm not a Hallmark girl. I'm like the epitome of not a Hallmark girl. So, ironically, she does a lot of Hallmark. That's Chelsea Pilson. Yay! Hi, Chelsea.
She does a lot of them. Yeah.
I found her from Lifetime and Hallmark. She is like amazing girl next door, and incredible actress too, by the way. So some people can fly back and forth and do both, but I stay in the dark where I belong.
Yeah, that's where you have to do it. It'd be great, and a Hallmark horror movie, like a tone of a Hallmark
They
movie.
would never go for it, but if they would, I would do it. If they could be convinced, I would absolutely do it.
Yeah, totally. Well, this has been awesome. I'm so happy that we connected. The Jersey, even though I know you avoid the winters now, but it was great to be able to pick your brain. Yeah, I know.
No. But honestly, summers, and even the spring when all the leaves and everything changes there, it gets really, really pretty. So I have a soft spot. Y'all have better food out there. And the people, I like the straight upness that you get with the East Coast.
I know. We lived in Portland, Oregon for a few years, and people are like really nice, and I felt like I was in the Truman Show.
Fake. It is. It feels fucking fake.
Yeah.
I do fake for a living. Like I want someone to have a real conversation, and nobody does. Everyone's really passive aggressive. Like you got something to say, just say it. And then they think I'm a bitch and I'm too intense, and they're like, So I have a soft spot for Jersey and the East Coast. I go out and have a cheesesteak and talk the shit with people, and it's real. Yep. And so yeah, I do miss it. We're doing a tour with the movie, and
sweet.
We're playing at Syracuse International Film Festival and Happenstance Horror Fest in Massachusetts.
Cool.
And we're up for a couple more in New England too, which hopefully I can share soon. So we're gonna make our way back there, and I'm gonna come to several of them. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
No, it'd be really cool if you could show your movie like near your hometown. I don't know if there's any regular Cineplexes around down that area because there's not. Yeah, that's good.
I haven't been back to my hometown in a while, but they actually have I think they have a horror festival in Cherry Hill, but I've just
oh, they do. Yeah, like the Monster. Yeah, one of those. Yeah, they have them there. But that's cool. So where can people watch that? Can people like rent that right now or buy it online?
No. So we just finished filming this. We had we had a market debut at Cannes, the Cannes Film Festival, and that's the only people who've seen it so far. So our world premiere is in Florida in 2 weeks, which I don't know when this is airing. So
well, it's gonna be out in like 2 weeks. So yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So let me redo that. So yes, Black Mass is going to have its official world premiere at Popcorn Frights Film Festival in Miami South Beach on the 20th of August. So if you're in the area, please come out and join us. It is almost sold out, so reserve your tickets. They're free, but you have to reserve them online. And following that immediately, if you're joining us across the pond, we are going to Fright Fest in UK, and we are going to be Leicester Square, yes, in London for the international premiere. And I will be at both of those screenings to talk to you about this. This is a true crime movie. It is a day in the life of a serial killer, America's most notorious serial killer in 1978. and a very, very different perspective. You have not seen
Cool.
a serial killer movie told literally this way yet. So I wasn't sure how anyone would respond to it, but so far critics say it's fucking cool. So hopefully you will too. And,
Put that on the commercial. It's fucking cool.
It's fucking cool. So
Yeah.
humor me here. And as it's mentioned too, if you're in New England, our first 2 New England screenings are going to be in New York at Syracuse Film Festival, which is it's in its 20th year, and they're hosting a celebration with Alec Baldwin.
Nice.
And we are going to be coming out there October 4th to do a special presentation of The Black Mass. So if you're anywhere in New York, please join us up there. And then in Massachusetts, for Happenstance Horror Fest and Expo. So if you're a horror fan in New England, you definitely want to get up there for that. And I will see you at those. And hopefully we'll come to Jersey at some point too.
Yeah.
We'll see.
No,
We're gonna
that's
play
really
in Doug's
cool.
living room, and you're all invited.
In my living room, yeah. I think that's so cool. Like, obviously, you directed the movie, but it's like people forget about that when you're really involved with the movie, directing, producing. Like, it's not over. Like, it's far from over because it's everything else that happens. But you get to see the yeah.
Yes, it just
but it's gonna be cool in 2 weeks when you're able to see. I know people have seen it. Like you've seen people watch it before, but just to see like these random people that you don't know, like jump at the scene that you want them to jump out, emotion at the scene that you're. I think that's like the coolest thing about seeing people watch your movie.
People at the con screening, we had 2 different like older, very because. For those who don't know, the Cannes Film Festival is like one of the most prestigious festivals in the world, and so it's all like incredibly classy, very stuck up with the film industry, you know. And so they, I had a couple of like really fancy distributors and critics come to it, and they walked out pissed. Right in the middle of one of my most intense scenes. So I consider that an endorsement.
Yeah.
Everyone else stayed and loved it, and we pissed off the elites. So please come and join us.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Sorry it's been weird. Sorry I'm
this has been awesome.
fading into darkness here. And
No. Most people listen. I put it on I put it on YouTube. Then I use clips, but I'll choose a clip from when we had good lighting. Yeah.
Perfect. Absolutely.
No, it's been a blast. I'm happy we connected.
So much fun. Yeah. Thank you for having me. You were a blast to talk to. I love these people. So much more fun.
All right.
And, and hopefully we'll do. I'll send you the movie, and then maybe when we have a premiere out by you, we can come back and do something specific for the show.
Yeah, that's cool.
Have the rest of the sorority girls on here, and we can chat about it.
Very cool. Have a great rest of your night. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, honey.
Bye.